A new cook. The SS Texar made a triumphal entry to the harbour by steaming in between two square-rigged schooners, the Volant and a Jehu of Wick, and slid silently, with the exactitude of long experience, against the piles of Rothsay Quay, where Parahandy sat on a log of wood. The throb of her engine, the wash of her propeller, gave place to the strains of a melodeon, which was playing Stop Your Tickle and Jog, and Parahandy felt some sense of gaiety suffuse him. But business was business, and it was only for a moment he permitted himself to be carried away on the divine wings of music. "Have ye anything for me, Mackay?" he hailed the Texas clerk. The purser cast a rapid glance over the deck, encumbered with planks, crates, casks of paraffin oil, and herring boxes, and seeing nothing there that looked like a consignment for the questioner, leaned across the rail and made a rapid survey of the open hold. It held nothing maritime, only hay bales, flour bags, soap boxes, shrouded mutton carcasses, rolls of plumber's lead, 2 headstones for our drishig, and the dismantled slates, cushions, and legs of a billiard table for Strucker. "Nathan the day for ye, Peter," said the clerk, "unless it's yin of the heat stains," and he ran his eye down the manifest which he held in his hand. "You're awful smart, Mackay," said Parahandy. "If you was a real purser with brass buttons and a yellow and black stripped tie on your neck, there would be no hodding ye in. It's no luggage I'm looking for. It's a kind of a man I'm expecting. Maybe he's no in your department. He'll be travelling saloon. Look behind one of them herring boxes, lackey, and see if you can't see a sailor." His intuition was right. The Texar's only passenger that afternoon was discovered sitting behind the herring boxes playing a melodeon and smiling beatifically to himself with blissful unconsciousness that he had arrived at his destination. He came to himself with a start when the purser asked him if he was going off here. It terminated the melody of his instrument in a melancholy squawk, picked up a carelessly tied canvas bag that lay at his feet, and hurried over the plank to the quay, shedding from the bag as he went a trail of socks, shoes, collars, penny ballads, and seaman's biscuits, whose exposure in this awkward fashion seemed to cause him no distress of mind, for he only laughed when Parahandy called them to his attention, and left to one of the Texas hands the trouble of collecting them, though he obligingly held the mouth of the sack open himself, while the other restored the dunnage. He was a round, short, red-faced, clean-shaven fellow of 25, with a thin serge suit, well polished at all the bulgy parts, and a laugh that sprang from a merry heart. "Are you the tar's cousin? Are you Davy Green?" asked Parahandy. "Right-o, the very chap," said the stranger. "And you'll be Peter. Hold my melodeon, will you, till I draw my breath? Right-o." "Are you sure there's no mistake?" asked Parahandy as they moved along to the other end of the quay, where the Vital Spark was lying. "You're the new hand I was expecting, and your name's Davy?" "My name's Davy right enough," said the stranger, "but I seldom get it. When I was in the Cluthers, they always called me Sonny Jim." "Sonny Jim," said the captain. "Man, I've often heard about ye. You were namely for chumping fences." "No me," said Davy. "Catch me jump nothing if there was a hole to get through." "Is that your vessel?" "Oh, she's a tipper. Oh, you and me'll get on A1. Wait till you see the fun I'll gie ye. That was the worst of the Cluthers, off of short trips, and every now and then a key. You hadn't a minute to yourself or a bore at all. What sort of chaps hae ye for a crew?" "The very pick," said Parahandy, as they came alongside the Vital Spark, whose crew, as a matter of fact, were all on deck to see the new hand. "That's MacPhail, the chief engineer, one of Britain's hardy sons, with the one Gallus. And the other chap's Dougie, the first mate, a Cowell lad. You'll see him plainer after his face is washed for tea. Then there's me mysel, the captain. Lads, this is Colin's cousin, Sonny Jim." Sonny Jim stood on the edge of the quay and smiled like a sunset on his future shipmates. "Who are yez, chaps?" he cried genially, waving his hand. "We canna complain," said Dougie solemnly. "Are ye in good trim yoursel? Seize a grip of your hold all and excuse the gangway." Sonny Jim jumped on board, throwing his dunnage bag before him, and his feet had no sooner touched the deck than he indulged in a step or two of the sailor's hornpipe, with that proficiency which only years of practice in a close mouth in Crown Street, south side of Glasgow, could confer. The captain looked a little embarrassed. Such conduct was hardly businesslike. But it was a relief to find that the Tar's nominee and successor was a cheery chap at any rate. Dougie looked on with no disapproval, but MacPhail grunted and turned his gaze to sea, disgusted at such free and easy informality. "I hope you can cook as well as you can dance," he remarked coldly. Sonny Jim stopped immediately. "Am I supposed to cook?" he asked, concealing his surprise as he best could. "You are that," said MacPhail. "Did you think you were to be the German band on board and garoon lifting pennies? Cooking's the main thing with the second mate of the Vital Spark, and I can tell you we're gey particular. Are we no, Dougie?" "Awful," said Dougie sadly. "MacPhail here has been cooking since the Tar left. He'll gie you his receipt for haddies made with engine oil." The Vital Spark cast off from Rothsay Quay on her way for bowling, and Sonny Jim was introduced to several pounds of sausages to be fried for dinner, a bag of potatoes, and a jar of salt, with which he was left to juggle as he could, while the others, with expectant appetites, performed their respective duties. Life on the open sea, he found, was likely to be as humdrum as it used to be on the Cluthers, and he determined to initiate a little harmless gaiety. With some difficulty, he extracted all the meat from the uncooked sausages and substituted salt. Then he put them on the frying pan. They had no sooner heated than they began to dance in the pan with curious little crackling explosions. He started playing his melodeon and cried on the crew, who hurried to see this unusual phenomenon. "Well, I'm jiggered," said the captain. "What in all the world is the matter with him?" "It's a warning," said Dougie lugubriously, with wide staring eyes. "Warning my auntie," said Sonny Jim, playing a jig tune. "They started jumping like that whenever I be good to play my bonny wee melodeon." "Aye, I dare say that," said Parahandy, "for you're a fine player, Jim. But it wasn't any invitation to a ball I gave them when I paid for them in Rossa." "I said sausages weren't mate for sailors," remarked the engineer with bitterness, for he was very hungry. "You'll notice it's an Irish jig they're dancing to," he added with dark significance. "I don't see myself," said the captain, "that it matters whether it's an Irish jig or the Gourock waltz in Circassian circle." "Does it no?" retorted MacPhail. "I suppose you'll never hae heard of Irish terrier dugs. I've ate my last sausage onyway. Sling us o'er that pan loaf." And seizing the bread for himself, he proceeded to make a Spartan meal. Sonny Jim laughed till the tears ran down his jovial countenance. "Chaps," he exclaimed with firm conviction, "this is the cheeriest ship ever I was on. I'm awful glad I brung my music." Dougie took a fork and gingerly investigated. "As hard as whinstones," he proclaimed. "They'll no be ready by the time we're at the tail of the bank. Did ye ever in your mortal life see the like of it?" And he jabbed ferociously with a fork at the bewitched sausages. "That's richt," said MacPhail. "Put them out of pain." "Stop you," said Parahandy. "Let us pause and consider. It is the first time ever I saw sausages with such a desperate fine ear for music. If they'll no fry, they'll maybe boil. Put them in a pot, Jim." "Right-o," said Sonny Jim, delighted at the prospect of a second scene to his farce, and the terpsichorean sausages were consigned to the pot of water which had boiled the potatoes. The crew sat round, staving off the acuter pangs of hunger with potatoes and bread. "You never told us what for they called you Sonny Jim, Davy," remarked the captain. "Do you think it would be for your complexion?" "I couldna say," replied the new hand, "but I think mysel' it was because I was aye such a cheery wee chap. The favourite Cluther on the Clyde when the Cluthers was running was the yin I was on. Hundreds of trips used to come where on the setteries on the off chance that I would maybe gie them a bore. Money a pant we had. I could have got a job at the Finniss and Ferry richt enough, chaps, but they wouldn't allow the melodeon, and I would sooner want my wages." Fine, fine instrument, said Parahandy agreeably. Wait and Doogie's trump will no be slack in passing the time. Be happy, that's my motto, said Sonny Jim, beaming upon his auditors like one who brings a new and glorious evangel. Whatever happens, be happy, and then you can defy anything. It's all in the way you look at things, see? That's what I always say myself to the wife, said Doogie in heartbroken tones, and his eye on the pot, which was beginning to boil briskly. As sure as death, chaps, I canna stand the jock of Hazeldean kind of thing at all. Folk going about letting the tear doon fall the time. Gie me a hearty laugh and it's right-o. Be happy. That's the golden text for the day, as we used to say in the Sunday school. I could be happy easy enough, if it wasn't that I was so desperate hungry, said Doogie in melancholy accents, lifting the lid to look into the pot. He could see no sign of sausages, and with new forebodings he began to feel for them with a stick. They had disappeared. I said from the very first it was a warning, he exclaimed, resigning the stick to the incredulous engineer. This boat's haunted, said MacPhail, who also failed to find anything in the pot. I saw you putting them in with my own eyes and knew they're no there. Parahandy grabbed the spurtle and feverishly explored on his own account with the same extraordinary results. My Jove, he exclaimed, did you ever see the like of that? And I haven't tasted one drop of stimulant since last Monday. Lads, I don't know what you think about it, but it's the church twice for me tomorrow. Sonny Jim quite justified his nickname by giving a pleasant surprise to his shipmates in the shape of a meat tea later in the afternoon.